What's up, guys? This is Johnny Resendiz alongside CBS Sports' own Garrett Podell here at the Star in Frisco. And on today's episode of the soap opera that is the Dallas Cowboys, preparing for the New York Jets. But before we get to New York, Garrett, some very interesting stuff said from the Dallas Cowboys defense. I kind of want to start with the pass rush, right? We were talking with Kenny Clark, and obviously, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to really guess that pass rush just isn't there. You asked him a few questions about just being able to get more production out of there. What did you take away from his comments?
Well, yeah, Johnny, you make a great point. It's not a surprise where the pass rush went. Some of that pass rush went to the Green Bay Packers and Micah Parsons, who co-leads the NFL with 25 quarterback pressures this year alongside Will Anderson from the Houston Texans. But how the Cowboys, with who is on the roster, how can they fix that? I asked Kenny Clark, and he said to me, it kind of is about the start of the game. He said a lot of these games were falling behind, like the Packers. They were down 13-2 early, and it's hard for them to pass rush when they don't know, is it run or pass, the quick game. But versus you get up, you can kind of, he said, play downhill. That's what Kenny Clark told me, play downhill. That's really when the pass rush can get going. So a lot of it is kind of situational football, but it all kind of ties together because we also spoke to Trayvon Diggs, and he was talking about how positioning is still an issue in the Cowboys zone defense. Matty Eberflus runs zone just a little bit over 87% of the time. That's the highest rate in the NFL zone. This has been a man coverage team in years past under Dan Quinn, Mike Zimmer, and they run the lowest percentage of man coverage in the NFL this year, a little over 6%. And so some of that is personnel, right? Trayvon Diggs, he's limited in practice with a knee injury. Deron Bland, he practiced fully with a foot injury today, but still we're kind of working his way back. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how the scheme maybe changes because positioning and guys knowing where they're going to be in this defense, that's still kind of up in the air. That's what Trayvon Diggs said. So definitely something to really monitor this week against New York.
And it is concerning the fact that we're 4 games in and still kind of having these conversations about the defense. Something that Brian Schottenheimer mentioned was that there is even more room for simplification on the defense. Are you expecting any sort of dramatic shift against the Jets for the defense upcoming?
I mean, if you're talking about man coverage or zone coverage, I really am not. And I think that's because, let's look at the personnel. As we mentioned, the top 2 corners are a little banged up. And it's easier to cover in zone when you're not putting dudes on an island. Trayvon Diggs against the Bears, one of Matty Eberflus's old quarterbacks, and Caleb Williams, he slipped, and Rome Odunze scored a 35-yard touchdown. So I don't know that this team is equipped to play man coverage right now, even though stylistically that's probably where they're a little more comfortable. Deron Bland lightly alluded to this. Trayvon Diggs said it. He said, I've talked to Matt Eberflus and asked if we could play a little more man. So I think from a personnel perspective, it's really hard for the Cowboys to kind of play the brand of football that really made them win 12 games in a row, 12 games 3 seasons in a row with Dan Quinn.
Yeah, and you know, the Jets' record 0-4, that could be a little bit misleading. They could very easily be 2-2 with, you know, really close games against the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then you also got guys on the offense side of the ball like Breece Hall, like a Garrett Wilson, and obviously Justin Fields. I guess, what are you expecting from the Cowboys defense against a Jets team that, if you look just a little bit on their film, that 0-4 record is not conducive to how they are in terms of energy and effort?
I think you're going to see a very similar, if we're talking defense, plan to what they ran in week 1 against Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. Really try and keep him in the pocket. As we saw on Monday night, he had an incredible nearly 30-yard touchdown run in which he was scrambling around, spinning and spinning, spinning. All of a sudden, he's gone to the house, and it's a touchdown. So this is Cowboys pass rush that is really going to look to keep Fields in the pocket. I asked Kenny Clark about, what do you know about Justin Fields from when he was on the Bears? You were on the Packers.
Yep.
And he said, yeah, the biggest thing is keeping your rush lane integrity. So what that means, rush lane, like on a play, there might be a defensive tackle who might stunt or kind of have to run a certain direction between a guard and a center, guard, tackle, whatever. Guys really have to stay disciplined to those lanes against Justin Fields, because if you don't, he's going to be outside the pocket and gone. And that's what happened to them against Jalen Hurts. And Fields, he's honestly a little bit faster, so that's really going to be a big point of emphasis this week.
Just got 2 more questions for you. Let's talk about the Cowboys offense versus the Jets defense right here. Cowboys offensive line is banged up, right? Tyler Guyton, as of right now, is still in the concussion protocol, obviously without Cooper Beebe and Tyler Booker. And then you also got the Jets defensive line that's no slouch either. What are you expecting from the Cowboys offense, kind of just being able to still put up the points that they have been against this Jets defense?
I think, once again, another week, a lot on Dak Prescott's plate. He leads the NFL in passing yards, pass completions and pass attempts. He's averaging around 43 pass attempts per game. And Schottenheimer said today, that's not the brand of football we want to play. He's talked all offseason about running the ball, being a physical football team, doing all those things. But when you fall behind early, you got offensive line injuries, it's harder to establish the run. Javonte Williams, he's been a top 5 running back in rushing touchdowns and rushing yards this year. So it's going to be really interesting to see which backup offensive linemen have to play this week. We know for sure probably Brock Hoffman at center. Tyler Smith, he didn't practice today with a knee injury, but you would think maybe that he would play this week because he hadn't exhibited any signs of injury prior to today. So definitely probably going to be a lot on Dak's plate, and they're going to try and run the ball, but Quinn and Williams in the middle, Schottenheimer said, no pun intended, a big challenge.
Right. And just last question for you. I hate to use the term must win in the 5th game of the season, but you come off a bad loss to the Chicago Bears, and then you come off a tie against the Green Bay Packers. Ties are for the other football, right? Not for American football. Do you feel like that the Cowboys need to pick up this win on the road in order for the wheels to not fall off?
I do, yes, Johnny. And I think, we're starting to see some of that a little bubbling over here with Trayvon Diggs saying, yeah, I talked to Eberflus, want to play more man. Diggs didn't start last week, and he said that was for off-the-field stuff. So kind of how, I guess, he approached practice during the week. He said he found out later in the week last week that he wasn't going to initially start the game. And there's been a lot asked of Diggs from a leadership responsibility perspective this year. So, yeah, to keep the locker room in a good place, I really think they need to send the Jets to 0-5. And if New York picks up their first win this week, yikes.
Cowboys go up against the New York Jets. You can tell by his face that he's concerned. Go up against the Jets this Sunday, early in the morning. Garrett, appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me, Johnny.